Feet hurting, world full of busy bees working. I ain't never met a free person. I don't get along with these earthlings. I'm trying to seek purpose, fight for something I believe's worth it. Feel the curse, I'ma reverse it. I don't dream cause I sleep nervous. Yet I keep flirting, face death like a Steve Irwin. Whole heat, I'ma drink thermos. Tell the bartender keep serving. I'm trying to be perfect, using dirty shit to clean dirt with. Only happy when the weed burning. Traded oxygen to breathe herbin. Till I see curtains, lungs fail and they cease working. Error something that I need urgent. Suffocating, trying to squeeze words in. What would I do with my last breath? Would I yell? Would I cry? Would I laugh? Cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step. I'm on the last test, final answer and my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest, so much harder than my last track. Map less, hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address, down on my last cent. Cash spent from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Sweater shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt, never got to hear his last breath. And the only reason I ain't passed yet, I'm the first ever and the last left. I let the record show. I let the tech explode. Put on the weapon show. Pull up the Texaco. Knuckles in Mexico. Call up the technical. They know the text will blow. Shut up, I'm Plexico. Turn you to vegetable. Body electrical. Acid and alkaline. Body so flexible. The shooter's feast like a Uber Eats. Got a group of these these scooter bees. While letting the Uzi Aruga speak. An American got up in Cuba eats. The powers they seek and powers the weak. They follow and creep. Powers that be inherit the world from cowards and sheep. Picture the mountaintop towers and peaks. Flowers and sweets that shower their feet. The lightning and thunder that shower the sleep. Sour the D's. This like the verse, this sour receipts. What would I do with my last breath? Would I yell? Would I cry? Would I laugh? Cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step. I'm on the last test, final answer and my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest, so much harder than my last track. Map less, hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address, down on my last cent. Cash spent from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Sweater shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt, never got to hear his last breath. And the only reason I ain't passed yet, I'm the first ever and the last left.
It's like a track finish. I attract women, they the bad women. I'ma splash in them, leave a bag with them. Then I raise seeds to be mad different. If I die now, I'm coming back in them. Cause they dad missing, but they cash ripping. Cause they royalty, so they brag different. Ain't no ass kissing, never had feelings. Seen a white victim and a black witness. Mac ripping on my last mission. Yak sipping, blowing blackism. Gas missing, he was lack slipping. Smack hit him, now we act different. Apparition, the bad vision. The Mac a chip him, a crash system. Uncle Tom, cause you that willing. Fuck the law, I'm going back. Living astral prisms of black religions, activisms of conversations, sacrilegious, the palms of Satan, black magicians, Babylon are racing, raise our hands to God we praising, hustling, the marathon we racing, Nipsey at the finish line, he waiting.
What would I do with my last breath? Would I yell? Would I cry? Would I laugh? Cause I'm glad that I'm past that mess. Till I pass, never felt that blessed. Even bad breath when you living is better than good breath. When you lack flesh, got a glass chest that I cracked and my lost breath hasn't made it back yet. I'm on my last breath, walking the last step. I'm on the last test, final answer and my last guess. Wonder what I gotta pass next. I'm on my last quest, so much harder than my last track. Map less, hope I can outlast death. Grim Reaper got my address, down on my last cent. Cash spent from a check I don't even have yet from my last rent. Sweater shit has got me mad stressed. I inherited my dad's debt, never got to hear his last breath.
Alright. There you have it. There you have it. That is Last Breath off of Holy Ghost 2, Red and Blue Pill, or Kambada featuring Red and Blue Pill. Black Magic. Shout out to Brother Rich. We did a monumental video tonight that he will be premiering on his channel, Black Magic 363, or Brother Rich, the Brother Rich channel. He has another channel. Yeah. Peace to the family, peace to the universe, peace to you and yours. This is your brother Red Pillar. This is October. What's today's date? I don't even know the damn day. Well, it's Tuesday. It's the 22nd, the deuce deuce. Time is flying so damn fast, my niggas. I gotta check in with Siri. Well, this is the 22nd. This is the 84th episode of Melanin Monday. You are definitely in the place to be. Let's do this roll call before I get anything. Milwaukee is in the building. Milwaukee. All right. Rochester's in the building. Boston's in the building. Two First is in the building. Louisville's in the building. Richmond, Virginia, North Carolina, Sacktown, Philly, 305, Sacramento. Detroit is in the building. Brooklyn is in the building. Shout out to the BK. Tucson is in the building. VA is in the building. Phoenix is in the building. Colorado, Kansas City. Love from St. Kitts, Dallas, Denver. San Diego is in the building. ATL, KTL in the ATL. Nashville is in the building. Pittsburgh, Savannah's in the building. Charlotte is in the building. Richmond in the building. DC in the building. Trinidad and Tobago. Florida's in the building. Arkansas, Miami, 305, Dade County. Hartford, Connecticut is in the building. Long Island is in the building. Strong Island, Kings County. Harrisburg, 717, North Carolina. You dig? Houston, Texas. Largo, 727. Montreal is in the building. All right. Seattle's in the building. 401 is in the building. Eastern PA, Respect and Power. Lancaster in the building. You already Philly all day. You already Philly, which is a Scorpion city. Salute, 716. All right. 215. San Pablo. Shout out to Pablo. Shout out to Blue Pillar. Shout out to all of my shifters. Shout out to everybody who came out into DC this weekend. We're going to talk about it. Richmond, Virginia. Baton Rouge. North Philly in the building. Salute. Salute. You know. Cleveland, 215 in the building. Yeah, we here. South Philly, all of the mounds are connected. This is Pennsylvania's in the building. These are all power grids. These are all ley lines. You know I'm talking about? Long Island City, Austin, Texas. You know, this is the global mound matrix. This is the global connected mind. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is the web. You know, this is the web of consciousness. So welcome everybody. 423 Chafftown, all right. Winchester, California. See, and that's another thing. I done thought I was everywhere in the 50 states of America. I'm saying there's a whole bunch of places that I need to go to. Philly in the building. Yeah. Yeah, them ley lines is connected. You already know what it is. You know, and when we connected, we do powerful things. We do magical things. You know, we change the world. That's facts. You know, people talk about what the impact that their videos have on the world, and they don't include the people who are watching their videos or the people who are being energized and magnetized, you know, and turned, basically getting their divine spark. Those are the people who are making that video the power that it is, or those videos, or even those people who do videos in social media. Yeah. Oh yeah, the lessons on Gucci, right? I was gonna try to save that IG, but the phone is filled up. Flatbush is in the bill. Now I could begin. You know, when people wait for the ancestors to speak, there's certain cities and there's certain parts of the grid that I wait for. And now Flatbush signed up. Now they're here. We shall begin. Thank you, ancestors. Permission to speak. So yeah, let's get right into it because I don't want to have everybody out too late at night. You know, chances are I started late tonight. I did something with Father Rich. You know, we have an event that is coming up, which, you know, when you think about it and when you put it into its proper context, right? The calendar year of 2020 is approaching us, okay? The calendar year 2020 is approaching us in less than 70 days. So there's an old saying that it's not how you start the race, it's how you finish it. So in more than less than 70 days, we're finishing out a whole era, regardless if people want to, you know, if they're aware of it or not, or if they're having, you know, if they came to that epiphany. But a book ending of a complete era, a complete age, a complete everything, a eon or whatever you want to call it, awaits us. It's not necessarily a closing because nothing is necessarily closing, but it is it's a center point, right? It's 2020. So when you think about the responsibility that, you know, the ones who are running races have in leading the race or finishing the race or taking the race or, you know, giving directions to the race or showing the race the way, then you would say who is setting up something to basically, you know, close this thing out and lead us into a whole new dimension, into a whole new time, space, continuum, a mental space, a different mind state, you know, a clearer vision. So here we have the Ascension 2020 conference. Remember, the 3rd of November. The word was dismembered. Nah, hold on. I got bars for it, but I ain't gonna go. Yeah, so the 3rd of November is a magical day. It's a magical day for many reasons. One of the reasons is my younger brother KT's born day is that day. So that's that young Scorpio master, that young master Jedi who has been added to the bill because I'm gonna be giving my younger brother his platform to go, you know, completely Dark Phoenix in there. And then we have Blue Pill on the bill. Then we have Gano Grills on the bill, who is right now, if you're watching the Wu-Tang series, that's Gano has fingerprints in that. He has something to do with that legacy. If you saw the documentary, if you've seen the artwork that he's, you know, and then when it comes to Hollywood or somebody melanated being in Hollywood and being a part of historical films, and we're gonna talk about the power of films tonight because we're gonna explore, you know, this thing called Watchmen that came on HBO last night. We're gonna talk about it. I did a segment with Brother Rich in which I went more in depth, but we're gonna cover it tonight. We'll go over some stuff, you know. So yeah, the Wu-Tang documentary or the Wu-Tang saga on TV has a lot of people, you know, giving it positive feedback. It's feeding a lot of people's um, creative the voids that they're feeling by not seeing things that represent real life, real history, you know, real authenticity about our culture. So they gravitate to that. And Gano has something to do with that. But not only that, Gano is on his A game with his spirituality, with his movement, Galacticus, and with other things that he does with his teachings and how he's been able to tap in. So he's bringing his A game. And then we have Billy Carson, okay, of Forbidden Knowledge. Billy Carson is a legend. He was able to synthesize many different lessons and many different teachings and take it into a whole nother realm. And he's able to he's commercialized it, and he has a global audience, and he's working with, you know, the machine on the resources that Dame Dash and Dame Dash Studios is providing, along with other things. So yeah, that, and then you got your brother Red Pill, who's gonna be metaphysically touching on, you know, neural hacking or brain hacking, neuroplasticity, and also thermal, uh, theta waves. You know what I'm saying? And the theta wave, and you know the way that theta waves can tap into what is known as the flow state. So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a movie. This is going to be the way to usher in our the family who have been building and you know been a part of this whole, I don't even know what to call it. So everyone who's supposed to be there will be there, and it's going to be a movie. And yeah. And if you can't make it to New York, it'll be available on the live stream. And then to just make everything official tissue, there's gonna be a performance as well from Cambada, and we will be doing Last Breath, Red Pill and Blue Pill, with the God Cambada, and yeah, that's gonna be one for the, you know, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be that thing right there. You know, I don't talk a lot about. I like to show. But yeah, that's a wonderful thing. But before we even get into that, I want to pay homage and I want to give its proper due to an event that just happened. Rather than to talk about something that's in front of us, let's focus on something that just happened that's, you know, not even behind me yet. And that, what I'm talking about, is this weekend when me and my brother, Blue Pill, along with 19 Keys, along with man like Brother Ben X, along with man like Billionaire PA, we went to the DMV. We were in Washington D.C. Well, we were in Maryland, right on the border of D.C. and whatnot. And we had the Shifters Reunion 2020, the Vision for the 2020 conference, and it was a beautiful, beautiful event. A wonderful outpouring of love, of support, of students who are ready to learn, of youth. It was a lot of youth there. We had students from Howard and other colleges. We had people coming from Cali, out of town. Uh, it was a wonderful event. You know, everybody got their chance to build with the audience and just chop it up and whatnot. It was recorded. It was directed, produced with somebody with professional cameras. So I will keep you informed if people want to tap into the exact footage of that event, because it's a monumental event. It's a historical event. Whenever the shifters go out, you know, it's a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's a powerful event. You know, the unifying or unification of multiple powerful, impactful, influential, purpose-driven teachers, scholars, you know, you name it, gods, kings, you know what I mean? And that energy permeates and it attracts all kind of beautiful, good, energetic, high frequency, you know, abundant, beautiful, you know what I mean, happy, you know, magnetic people. So I don't know what to say. I would, if I would say anything else, it would be remissive of me. But it was beautiful. You know what I'm talking about? Our people are beautiful, and our people are ready. You know what I'm talking about? Like, our people are ready to go. You know, they don't need anybody to give them anything or hold their hand. They're not waiting for no one's permission. You know, they're ready to make moves. And people, there's a lot of people making moves. So shout out to everybody that's already making moves, doing the damn thing, looking for inspiration anywhere that you could find it, in video games, in movies, you know, in comic books, in online game, wherever in Oculus, you know, virtual, wherever you have to go. Because remember, I'm not I'm not I'm not in denial to the power of the fantasy industry, and coupled with the power of escapism in a society such as this that works psychologically through media and through other means of propaganda to induce fear, to induce doubt, and to induce other feelings of inferiority in this society. And they don't encourage, nor do they aid and assist, nor do they even, celebrate individuals who are, you know, doing what needs to be done. You know, a lot of the generation, the millennials, you got to remember that they are hardwired to learn their information through video games, through animation, through the movies, through TV shows. Case in point, why Black Wall Street was trending on Twitter today, because the HBO series Watchmen premiered last night, and it stars Regina King of 227 fame, right? We're going to talk about her in a minute. She got some of the best roles in Hollywood. And this story opened up with Black Wall Street with a depiction on film, something that's never been seen before. An actual opening scene, 10 minutes long, of the massacre and destruction and the complete bombardment of Black Wall Street. And the show opened up with it. It's called Watchmen. It's on HBO, right? And when I went on Twitter, the response from people of both nationalities, white and black, were basically making that tweet, that hashtag Black Wall Street trend, and they were claiming plausible deniability. They were claiming that they never heard of it before, ever. They were claiming, why didn't somebody not tell them about this before in history class? They said that they never seen or knew about that. And I promise you, there's a large percentage of people who are honestly telling the truth. But we know by the law of ratio, okay, that there's also a percentage of people who's a bold-faced fucking lie, and they're telling a lie, because these are the people who you was sending that the Black Wall Street shit to. You was posting it on their page. They're following you and your crew. You sisters with the shea butter and shit like that who like to twerk. You know that y'all been putting up Black Wall Street in your tweets. So these knuckle dragging niggas who be in your DMs, they had to see it, right? So everybody can't claim that they didn't know about it, you know. But now, what do we do about the fact that people know about it? Like, what's the conversation now? Rather than to say, okay, well, now, boom. Now that we're having a conversation that white people committed an act of terrorism, homeland terrorism, against a whole black population. There was not an average black population. It wasn't some poo butt people in the backwoods and whatnot. This was the most beneficial, profitable. These people were the most accomplished, one of the most accomplished townships of their time. And it went beyond just being in that town. Okay, this affected all of Black America. So when people say, yo, why they don't do this, or why they don't got that, or what's going on with them people? Look, when they went to war against black people and bombed the financial center, it's almost like on 9/11 when they bombed the World Trade Center and knocked the buildings down. But then what about if they came on some ships and planes and got out and took over? That's the situation that you have going on in places like Oklahoma. And prior to Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, you had the Trail of Tears. That's the descendants of the Trail of Tears go into Oklahoma and take 40 acres, and they form what you know now as Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. And prior to that, and in other places like Nebraska and all of that with the Homestead Act, and when they were running down and clearing out all of these quote unquote Indians and these natives and whatnot, when they came and took New York from the Lenape and all of that. You dig? When it was New Amsterdam and all that, and they came and took this whole thing, and the whole land, the whole Lenape land was the Bronx. It was Manhattan. It was parts of Long Island. So it's crazy. Yeah, ODB's family. You know, the Montauk's, the at the tip of the Montauk's, you got pyramids and whatnot. I'm talking royal bloodlines in Kings County, because at the tip of Long Island is Montauk. Peter Moon writes about it and things of that nature. That's where they were out there doing. They were jumping. They were quantum jumping. You got to do some of the research about what's going on over there in Montauk. But you also got to go and do the research about the royal, the royal families that lived in those areas that they took the land from. So it's all kind of stuff going on. Yeah, shout out to Turtle Gang. Turtle Gang is a legend. He teaches about that. Shout out to Peter Moon. We had him on our radio show in the early 2000s, in the late, later in like, I think it was like a 2013 show or something. Oh, you sent me 10 beats? Okay, I'm gonna run to those. You sent me those tonight? Cause I'll go listen to those after this show. I'm in writing mode right now. The bars is coming down. It's coming down the chimney. Oh, we're gonna talk about Meghan Markle. We're gonna talk about Meghan Markle. We got to talk on that too, because it's very interesting. After we came to the Parliament and did what we did, Meghan Markle is out here talking about she is miserable. She's sending out all kind of red flags. She's trying to tell Diddy and somebody, Tyler Perry, she's trying to, yo, she need a line. She's looking for a rope, my niggas. You know what I'm talking about? She's looking for a way out. She might have seen some shit, bro. She said in an interview, nobody's asking me if I'm happy. You know what I'm talking about? She like, all of y'all are saying all of this stuff to me and with the fake love, and y'all want to take pictures and selfies, but nobody is asking me if I'm happy. You know what that translates to? That translates to I'm not happy. And it's deeper than the fact that the newspapers, because they're talking about the tabloids, is tearing her up. Look, I got an article right here, where they're going in on her, right? And this is a cautionary tale, though. I think we could learn a lesson here, ladies, right? Because this might be they say that, this might be the princess of the swirlage. This is royal swirling, right? So here's an article. Please, America, take Meghan Markle back. She has dragged across the Atlantic a garbage truck full of the most Semitic U.S. wokeness. This was on October the 2nd, 2019. There they got her right there. Is this your queen? So this is a popular newspaper, right? Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is suing a British newspaper for publishing a handwritten letter to her father, Prince Harry. For his part, has attacked the press for waging a campaign against his wife, with no thought to the consequences. But it isn't just the tabloid media that is turning on the American Duchess. She's turning into a royal nightmare. In the cover piece of the first U.S. edition of The Spectator, Rod Little argues that the Princess of Woke is rubbing up the British the wrong way. Please, America, take her back. In it, the great triumph of recent American politics is for the people of your fine country to have elected as president a man who is the precise embodiment of what superlicious Europeans think Americans are really like: pig ignorant, arrogant, jingostic, contemptuous of foreigners, loudmouth, badly dressed, and irredeemably bumptious. So consuming is the European antipathy towards Donald Trump, he's never read a book. He eats steak with ketchup. That it afflicts leading politics across our continent. People who would be better advised to button it while and show a little bit of diplomacy to the leader of the free world. But they can't. The contempt always bleeds through. So look, where's Ebony and all of them? Where's Jet Magazine? Where's The Root? Like, why is nobody coming to her rescue? Where's the powerhouses of quote unquote black media who were hailing her up as, as a trophy? That, like, where's her, who's sliding for her? She don't got no rappers, she don't got Cardi B to give some bars, to write some bars or something, what's going on? They just left her stranded. But this is just one article. And I'm not gonna read the rest of this stuff, but they going in on her, bro. It's a long ass article. They say because she's woke and because she wants to talk about anything that's black and not everything about these lizards and what they trying to do or what they about, because she has an inkling of some kind of melanin and self-love and love for her people, and questioning because these people are like, yo, that energy, that woke energy inside of this place is making us nervous. It's making us fearful. You feel me? It's making them fearful. They can't they don't feel comfortable in the vicinity of even somebody raising any kind of doubts or raising any kind of opposite or a polarity to question the wickedness. These people have their hands in organized chattel slavery and shit like that. These people got their hands in some of the most atrocious atrocities ever seen and known to man. Rumor has it they had their hands, or the banks for that matter, had their hands in even the whole Nazi Germany thing. So these are some odd fellows that we're dealing with. These are some odd fellows. And they're hating on a few good men. But this thing of ours, you know what I'm talking about? This thing of ours, we've been doing this shit longer than they've been doing it. So the only person is truly getting outsmarted and outwitted in this thing seems to be us. We're outsmarting ourselves. So this weekend, me and my brothers joined forces. It's been the first time. The last time we came together as shifters was a year ago, almost to the day, when we were in St. John's in the Virgin Islands, making history down there, right? Tapping in and waking that grid up in the Caribbean. And after that, it's been different times that we met up and whatnot, but we didn't do an event for a whole year. So coming back to that stage with my brothers, coming back to the venues, coming back, forming Voltron, whew, man, that was powerful. Especially coming back from the UK, charged up the way that I've been charged up. So it's just compact. The energy is just compact, and the blessings, the frequency, the magnetics, the magnetism, all of it, all of it. It's just a charge. It's a big charge. So that whole event charged me up. I was very charged up. If you see the pictures, you know your boy got. I was, I was more. I clean up better than Pastor Wilson. How about that? You know what I'm talking about? I clean up better than Pastor Wilson. Talk black to me. You know, blue pill was clean. Had the Panama hat. 19 keys clean. Billionaire PA clean. You know what I'm talking about? Even Brother Ben Next clean. Had the white hoodie with the gold on it. You know, pop your collar. So, you know, we laid it down. We had some interesting dialogue. Um, you know, what more can I say? If you ever hear that we'll be in your city or your vicinity, you make sure that you come out and see us. This shit is, look, we only live once, but nothing ever really dies. But you only live once. Like, this is once in a lifetime type of things. Like, you know, I know when history is being made. This whole thing is historical. So, you know, I don't even want to try to sell this shit because it don't need it. It is what it is. Like, be there or be square type of thing. You know what I'm talking about? And that's not on some other shit. That's just on some other shit. You know? You hear Cambada's performing. That's like when in '93 I heard Big was performing. I ain't go. He was at the Lions Garden. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna go. I'm diving tonight. You know what I'm talking about? You know, I'm in the hot tub tonight. If you know what I'm saying. You know, and I missed that performance. And there was other performances that I could have, you know, went to. You know, I think I missed a Big L performance, shit like that. So when the great ones are amongst us, just be a part of that history. Shit. What else? You know, just be a part of that history. Yeah, it's the connect. Because it hit differently out in live. This is not even 8K right here. This is like 1080 DP. This is 720 DPI. You know, the human eye only gets to see 10% of the light spectrum. You're really only seeing 3% of me right now. Like, it's different in real life. Shout out to Philadelphia. You know what I'm talking about? You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, some of the most important things going into 2020 is there's the link up has to happen. Like, people have to, what I did in my segment, I'm gonna give you a brief you know, breakdown of my segment when we were in the shifters thing. I spoke about the wealth of talent, or the pool of talent that was in the room, that collectively showed up because one of these speakers or one of these influencers or one of these thought leaders or, you know, one of these scholars on this stage have magnetized them into that one address. But it was people who never knew each other, never saw each other, never met each other, hundreds of them, but they came for us, to see us. So I said, amongst you in the audience you are the answers that you've been waiting for. If you came here looking for certain answers, your answer is in the audience. And unless we speak to the audience, we'll never know who is amongst us. And we lose out on opportunity because we don't exercise, you know, extending or, exponentially jumping, you know, what is known as probabilities. You know what I mean? The probability of the next, you know, company that could compete with Apple, the probability of them meeting is increased if I say it to the audience. Is there anybody in here that's a coder that wants to work with another person to develop an app or a website? And then two people raise their hands, compared to if I got in there and just stood on the stage all day talking about me, and then at the end give niggas a soft sale pitch, you know what I mean? And nothing is done. It's just self-aggrandizement. You just getting a fucking commercial. So no, you go to the people and say, look, What is your gifts? What is your talents? What is your skill set? Those are three different things and they're distinctly different. This is it. If you're skilled when you go to work tomorrow and you're nice on Windows, or you're good at putting certain things together, you're nice at, whatever it is that you do on your job, that will be like your skill set. That's what you have. If you're accounting, them CPA, all of these things. Then you have your gift. Your gift is what you use. Your gift is the gift that people have, the gift of gab, the gift of dancing, the gift of rhyming, the gift of writing, the gift of sight. All of these different gifts people are bestowed with. Everyone is prepackaged with one. All right? Everyone is prepackaged with one. If you've never found yours, I would say to you, right? There's ways that you can find it. You need to know the ledge. You know what I mean? Pull up facts2020.org. You know what I mean? Come inside. Watch these videos. Watch everything red and blue. Watch everything from Black Magic 363, KT the Arch Degree, Dr. Sabi. The list goes on. Dr. Phil Valentine. It's a whole, they got the top 50 rap lists right now. There's some interesting lists coming out. They got the top 50 alive rappers. They got the top 50 worst rappers. We got the top 50 master teachers. We need to put that list together, And all of these people are magical, mystical, phenomenal, matrix shifting, right? Because remember, this whole thing that we're dealing with in consciousness, not just the whole thing, but a majority part of it is, what is this information doing to affect your brain? What is this information doing to affect your mind? And by affecting it, how deeply could this information affect your mind and your brain, to whereas neuroplasticity begins to take place and your whole consciousness or your whole mind or your whole brain gets rewired, and this whole shit that you're living through begins to look a lot different, and you begin to gain a lot more control over things, and then you begin to see the numbers on some neo shit. That's when you're in deep meditation. That's when you go all the way in. But what about the process to get there? Right? Is that not with you sitting down, immersing yourself in immersing your mind, right? Because when you're listening to something, you're taking this information through your eyes. You're in the theta mode, okay? This is when your brain is in theta. You have theta waves operating because you're laid back, you're high. If you're not high, you're in a laid back meditative state, and this is for not everyone, but we're talking to the majority of those. You're in that state because either you fall asleep listening to the lectures, or you be like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. When Bobby be like, y'all all right? Yeah, I'm all right. Ashe. That's right. So, and then, it's some people that just stay straight. Like they taking notes or they with it. It is what it is. But this information, when Dr. Sabi is dropping the information on you, when Dr. Phil Valentine, when they do, when whoever the teacher who sparked your mind, because everybody has an origin story. None of you niggas woke up like this. Everybody has an origin story. Everybody has a creation myth, a mythos. Everybody can identify when they took the red pill. You know what I'm saying? Nobody just jumped into the matrix, right? Everybody knows when they took the red pill. Everybody knows what teacher it was that had them like, oh shit, what's going on? Your brain start tingling. And then you've gone in and you're not the same brain anymore. And you're a whole complete different person. And you exist in a whole complete new reality. and you attracting whole complete new experiences to you. And when you look at your pictures, you look deformed. You look unfucking you look undeveloped. How about it? Because when your lights turn on, when that spark goes off, when your chakras begin to become ignited, my nigga, start to look different. Okay? And when your lights go out, it shows in the vehicle. Right? When your light's going out, then the light goes out. But when you begin to awaken these chakras and you move up from the sacral chakra and through the solar plexus and you get your shit turned online and you're in alignment and you're tapped in and you on your square, you know, and you move, you navigate in the ley lines, you moving through the hemispheres, through the ionic spheres, right? And then you listening to some powerful teachers, mostly the classics. You know, classics are good, like with the hip hop. You know, you could stick to the golden era and some of the 90s and whatnot, and you could stay on a certain frequency, not to hate or to dissipate or to try to, you know, separate. But if you want to stay on a certain kind of frequency, there are frequencies that exist in different time periods just based off of the alignment of the planets and the influence that they had on said artists. You need to find out all of these artists' birthdays and their charts so you can understand who you're listening to, what planets are you listening to, what constellations. You understand? What risings and shit like that. You got to understand it because the planets are talking to you. You know? The planets are talking. And they talk through these artists. They talk through these vessels. And they're being influenced by planets the same way that you are. Don't exclude these niggas from you. Oh, nah, they didn't do their chart. That don't work for them. Nah, they didn't come. Who's their master teacher? Nigga, please, shut up. It doesn't matter if they know about it or not. They still under the influence. They still operating. They're operating in the unconscious. You know. And when they find out about it, like you found about your shit, when they stumble across the information, they'll have their eureka moment. Their brain will rewire. They'll remember it. They'll begin to see things differently because of the fact that they've solved certain kind of problems. They connected certain synapses, you know. They've changed their environment. They've manipulated certain things because of their perception of certain things. That is important. That is important. You know. Yeah. I remember watching Hidden Colors. And I left Hidden Colors and I felt differently, right? Not only did I see people who I've listened to and watched over the years on the big screen. This was the first one. I saw them on the big screen, like Dr. Phil Valentine, right? I knew about Umar because we were beginning to interview him on Know the Ledge Radio. So when I saw him on the screen, I was like, okay, man, like Umar. That's a good look for the brother, right? And other people who were on the first one. So when they were given the information, this is information that I knew and I heard from them before because I was in a lecture circuit, and this is information. The information that was in the lecture circuit doesn't even like it's still at such a heights that hasn't been documented. So I was like, yo, this was powerful to see it like this, to see the information put together, and it just made me see things differently. It made me see the possibilities of, you know, being able to tap into what is known as the creative realms or the quantum universe, to begin to show a different part of our people that was not from completely stripped down, generalized, propagandized uh, Hollywood influenced versions of our inferior selves and the tropes that they've selected to use to put us in boxes or to put us in cages. These are tropes. These are formulas. That these are actually mathematical formulas that have been created, right? These are algorithms. These are tropes that the studios, the major studios will be considered the Wizards of Oz. The major studios are the shapers and the molders of reality through the fantasy industry. The shapers and the molders, they're the masters of the universe when it comes to creating reality because they have control of the wand. They have control of the hollow wood. They have control of everything. You see American gods. Remember, the god was media. The top god was the media god. The top god was the quote unquote media god. And then they had Showtime. And then they had the internet. And then they had the deep web. But the top god in American gods is the media. You know, it's Hollywood. It's lights, cameras, and action. So there's so many ways that you can now tap in to a power that you did not have access to prior because you don't see it outside. You don't see yourself outside of it. You are the movie that's been waiting to be made. You are the story that needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever put yourself outside this square right here, this black mirror, this black. You know, don't do that because nobody can stop you from pursuing your vision and your dream and creating your story into cinematic masterpieces and all of these things. That's what tomorrow and today holds. You could do it today. My dude Fig Panamera, um, you seen Dusko Ting Poppington, Dame Dash. You know what I mean? Who else? It's a whole bunch of people. Master P making all of these independent movies. It's people making movies on iPhones. It's people making movies with red cameras. It's people making all of these webisode series where everybody's doing the same thing. So where's the webisode series where people are doing different things? There's a lane, there's a void to be filled. So we don't even have to be in here worrying about what everybody else is doing when niggas got work to do. Tyler Perry has a wild big studio. We need writers workshops set up in Atlanta in Colley Park. We need this shit set up in Bankhead. We need the writers studio set up in all of the places where the black diamonds are at first. You understand? Because that's following a blueprint that's successful that Amir Baraka and all of them followed. They implemented that from Newark to Harlem, and it's happened many other times. Compton's had the writers workshop. So the pen, not the camera, because movies don't make themselves. You gotta write it. So that the most important starting point or the most important element of this whole film industry thing that's about to explode with black stories. It's about to explode with Afrofuturism and Afro-surrealism. Mark my word, and I've been telling the family for years to get into that and how to and the approach. And that this is gonna take. So the scripts that will come out of these writers' workshops will be the equivalent of what Scorsese and the Scorsese and Coppola and a whole bunch of other them, and a few of them have done. Because they're at war with the comic books right now. Scorsese and Coppola saying comic books are not movies. Obviously, they have not seen, they can't say that about the Joker. The Joker makes their conversation null and void because the Joker is on par to be the most successful superhero movie ever. It's almost at 1 billion at the fastest pace that any other one of the superhero movies has reached 1 billion. and it didn't cost as much to make as the quote unquote typical superhero movie. And you just saw the power of hype. Nigga, they hyped that movie for it to be like that. That was all hype. Majority, it would have been a regular hit, but the hype pushed it to where it's at. And that movie is a standalone movie. It's shot in a way where it's not a superhero movie. They made Arthur uh, Fleck such a relatable character. They made the Joker an ordinary character. They made him like you. They made him relatable. They showed you the breakdown. A lot of people that you know, if you go to Randall's and Ward's Island, everybody's the Joker if that's the case. They showed you how shit was failing and breaking down all around them. You spend a lot of time around black women, so insert your black ass into that, and that could be you. You know what I mean? And that movie is going to be like American Psycho, Underground, Fight Club, and things. That's a cult, and people are going to feed off of that movie because that movie will hypnotize you. Saw that shit in Birmingham with Blue Pill. You know what I'm talking about? And it was on a big screen. And that movie, it had its theta. It definitely had its subliminals. It was doing a lot. You gotta watch that. You should watch my breakdown before you watch that, so you have a better understanding of what you're looking at. Cause it's gonna trigger mad. It's gonna trigger a whole bunch of wannabe jokers, copycat jokers out here. You know, the whole thing, this purge. It's on the same algorithm. It's feeding the same egregor, or is tapping into the same frequency that the purge is programming them with. And then Watchmen comes out. That's programming them. And then remember, the creators of Games of Thrones, they have their version. They're coming out with their Confederate TV show, and the South won. This is an alternative universe. It's another shot. HBO is behind this as well. Game of Thrones is alternative universe. These are all quantum. This is all them playing in the quantum realms, creating these alternative universes through film. The subconsciousness does not know the difference between what is real and what is not. It's taking fantasy for real. That's why Darth Vader is your father in your dreams and shit like that. And Batman and all these people show up in your when you're in the astral and whatnot, because they're real, because they're in your mind. you know G.I. Joes and all of these niggas is here. And then when the movies start getting made, you like, oh man, they messing shit up. Like, I feel like a lot of those movies are being made because those movies are in my subconsciousness. Those movies are, it just so happens that all of my childhood movies became movies. I mean, all the childhood cartoons became these movies. So you'd be surprised with what you're doing with your mind when you understand what the mind is. You know what I'm talking about? When it's not your brain. Your brain is your brain and your mind is your mind. So we're gonna get into a lot of that on the 3rd of November. Remember, the 3rd of November. They came here dismembered. Ugh. Mm. So yeah, the purge. This is all their quantum shit. They're programming a future where they're going to be purging. They're gonna program a dystopian future where they're gonna be trying to carry out what they see as purges. That is the signal that is being sent unanimously through the quote unquote highest rated shows that them and many others consume, such as Walking Dead, such as Fear of a Walking Dead, such as Fear of a Walking Dead on a Red Sunset. They got all of these spin-offs. Those shows are talking about purges. Those shows are showing them how to basically move in this dystopian, lawless type of, mercenary societies, Mad Max type of things. They always flirt with those movies. They always entertain. That's like their porn and whatnot. They get off on things like that because it's gassing them up subconsciously. You understand? They need that kind of gasoline. I guess we don't. We're cool with killing each other. We put in a lot of creative powers into coming up with depictions of how we gonna wipe the next nigga out. But we it seems that the ink dries up or the dog eats the script when it comes to you punishing these people and showing them with their heads in your hands, or just giving them the business, or creating alternative universes or alternative realities where you control the narrative. They put that show on HBO and now they control that narrative. They didn't have to ask anybody permission. They didn't have to ask the ancestors permission to speak. They just went and did that. So I'm saying you could do that as well. And people might not understand what I'm talking about right now if you didn't see the show Watchmen on HBO and it came on Sunday. I didn't watch it. People sent it to me and I checked it out. And Watchmen movie is a classic. A. Rashid, this is early days of consciousness, '09. Watchmen is a cult classic, the movie with comedian Dr. Manhattan blowing shit up in Vietnam with his mind, chilling on Mars. Dude who was living in the pyramid and whatnot. Yo, that movie deep. So now the TV show is dealing with Regina King, who is Riley and Huey's voice on the Boondocks. Regina King from 227, one of the hardest working sisters in the game, or one of the best role getting sisters in the game for things that I like. And she's the main character, and it's an alternative universe or alternative future where the police have to wear masks because there's a white supremacist group who is terrorizing and killing police and their families. They're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma in the future, right? And they're killing the officers. And these other people wear the black and white masks. Where what's his name? Rokashaw. Pardon me, I can't pronounce that at the moment. But these white supremacists are active. Why? This white supremacist group was formed. Why? Because black people received their reparations. And Robert Redford is the president. I'm telling you, they're playing. And Nixon never got impeached, right? Nixon never got impeached. There was no Watergate, and America won Vietnam. This is what they have done with their pen, right? They've created an alternative universe just with a pen. So it's the same thing that you could create your alternative universe. Trump never won. Reagan never won. Who was it? Walter Mondale was on the stage doing, I don't know. Dick Gregory became president in the 60s. Like, you have access to manipulate and to fold and to mold the story as you see fit. As long as you take the motherfucking oath of death that you're going to do it for the family. You know what I'm saying? And you know who the family is. All black, dressed like an omen. You know what I mean? You got to do it for the family. This thing of ours. I saw Sammy the Bull interview. Y'all need to, that's required watching. Sammy the Bull interview. That's required watching. It's required, especially if anybody is dealing with the flirtatious relationship with the underworld. You know what I'm talking about? Where you flirt with death and other things like, shady characters and snake-like reptilians. You feel me? Living, breathing Birkin bags, nigga. So you should watching a killer who's on his way out. He's definitely on his way out. He's on his last days. King Takashi. Right? The king of the whole thing. He flipped on John Gotti. But he don't give a fuck. Remember, he's about to die. He gives no fucks about any of that. And he's speaking about the process of killing other people. And he's also speaking about, but it's not in an insane way. I promise you, I'm not leading you to something that's crazy like that. Trust me. Just trust me. It's some real Italian Guinea shit. Remember, I posted a story on my Instagram this week and it went viral. And the name of the story is How Italians Became White. And it's on the New York Times. All right? Let me see if we could pull that up. It says how the Italians became white. Now, I know people hear things about the Irish and they can't believe it because they say there's no way that the Irish were compared to black people. Like, it doesn't make sense. People say there's no movie where I could see that, so I don't believe that. Right? That's where we've come as a people because it's in books, right? And it's in all kind of literature, and it's also in records and whatnot. These are record people keep records, right? But hey, let me just show you before I go in. How Italians became white. Okay. Vicious bigotry, reluctant acceptance, an American story. Congress envisioned a white, Protestant, culturally homogeneous America when it declared in 1790 that only free white persons who have or shall migrate into the United States were eligible to become naturalized citizens. The calculus of racism underwent swift revision when waves of culturally diverse immigrants. Remember we talked about this when the immigrants came, right? The calculus of racism underwent swift revision when waves of culturally diverse immigrants from the far corners of Europe changed the face of the country. Now, remember, we were talking about the Eastern European coming into the Americas from the pilgrims and whatnot, right? Then we were talking about the Europeans who the Americas let in because the numbers of Aboriginal black people and Moors and other Africans was so much and so deep, and we were so strong and so together and so fearless. It's like, yo, we need some more numbers, my nigga. Go scrape the bottom of the barrel and bring them people over here and give them all kind of motherfucking benefits, right? You know, give them better than what the fuck they was eating potatoes for gourmet out there, you know? It wasn't popping. And it was post, you know, all kind of wars and whatnot. So them people came to the Americas, and if those same black people who they was encountering in America was in Europe hundreds of years before, they would have never in their minds thought about. That's why they were coming to America paying homage at first. And the Europeans who were over here was like, nigga, what? You can't pay homage to them people. Them people is niggas. And they was like, what's a nigga? And they was like, niggas, like, we don't respect them. And they was like, we do. And they say, you know what? Well, let's do it like this then. Being that y'all over here on our dime. If you respect them niggas, then we gonna treat you like them. So we hang niggas and we burn them, right? So there was a story where they hung them. They hung 19 of them. Look, I'm gonna read it real quick. Then I'm gonna go back to the top. Okay. Sicilians as rattlesnakes. The carnage in New Orleans was set in motion in the fall of 1890. That's where they was in. The Italians was in New Orleans, a lot of them. When the city's popular police chief, David Hennessy, was assassinated on his way home one evening. Hennessy had no shortage of enemies. The historian John V. Biamonte Jr. writes that he had once been tried for murder in connections with the killing of a professional rival. He also said to have been involved in a feud between two Italian businessmen. On the strength of a clearly suspect witness who claimed to hear Mr. Hennessy say that Dagos had shot him, the city charged 19 Italians with complicity in the chief's murder. That the evidence was distressingly weak was evident from the verdicts that were swiftly handed down. On the first 9 to be tried, 6 were acquitted. 3 others were granted mistrials. The leaders of the mob that then went after them advertised their plans in advance, knowing full well that the city's elites who coveted the businesses the Italians had built or hated the Italians for fraternizing with African Americans, right? Hold on, let me click on the highlight of fraternizing so we could see what exactly fraternizing means for people who don't understand. These people are among us, but not us. How a 125-year-old mass lynching tried to make America great again. Oh, we got to get back to this. A light rain fell on New Orleans on October 15, 1890. All right, that's when he got killed. So this lynching is one of the reasons how Christopher Columbus Day was started. If you could understand how significant this whole thing was. This is a long article that you know I'm not going to read right now, right? But look, let me just show you this. The mass lynchings of 11 prisoners in New Orleans sparks an international incident. Italian diplomats demanded that the United States protect the Italian residents of New Orleans and punish the lynch mob as a condition of a treaty between two countries guaranteeing Italian subjects in the U.S. the same rights of American citizens. U.S. Secretary of State James G. Blaine insisted that, despite the treaty, the federal government had no jurisdiction to punish those responsible for the massacre. Governor Nichols assured Blaine that the matter was being investigated, but that the action taken was directed against particular individuals and that the race or nationality of the parties did not enter as a factor into the disturbance. This conclusion was at odds with the declaration of the mob itself. Both countries recalled their ambassadors, and rumors of war between Italy and the United States began to fly. According to Higham, Italians within a country now appeared as a potential fifth column, and rumors of Italian immigrants secretly planning for armed conflict against the United States spread throughout the country. Botín writes that the New York Times reported that 1,800 Italians in West Virginia were arming and drilling. 20,000 Italians allegedly were planning to attack New Orleans in order to avenge their countrymen. Another newspaper wrote that Italian railroad workers were deliberately wrecking railroads in New York and Chicago. Gambino writes that thousands of individuals and groups sent telegrams pouring into the White House volunteering to fight a war against Italy. Newspapers across the country praised the lynch mob. Slayers slain blared the headlines in the Los Angeles Times. The Chicago Daily Tribune announced mafia murderers slain, 11 Sicilian butchers lynched at New Orleans. The New York Times declared that Hennessy had been avenged, 11 of his assassins lynched by a mob. Okay. And so the mob of people in New Orleans, in defiance of secret societies of assassination and a supposedly congenial Italian thirst for revenge, murdered 11 people in broad daylight and punished no one for it. The lesson much of the public drew was not the irony of that bloody and misplaced vengeance, but that the Italian immigrants were to blame for coming here. Yeah. So real quick, I want to just touch on something real quick before we build on this. Okay, look. Here we go. Let me show you how this is how Columbus Day started. This is a very important. This is a pillar in research, when it comes to what it caused, what it created. These sneaking and cowardly Sicilians, the editors wrote, the descendants of bandits and assassins, right? Who have transported to this country the lawless passions, the cutthroat practices, are to us a pest without mitigations. Our own rattlesnakes are as good citizens as they. Our own murderers are men of feeling and nobility compared to them. The editors concluded of the lynching that it would be difficult to find one individual who will confess that privately he deplores it very much. President Harrison would have ignored the New Orleans carnage had the victims been black, but the Italian government made it impossible. It broke off diplomatic relationships and demanded indemnity that the Harrison administration pay. Harrison even called on Congress in 1891 State of Union to protect foreign nationals, though not black Americans, from mob violence. Harrison's Columbus Day Proclamation in 1892 opened the door for Italian Americans to write themselves into the American origin story in a fashion that piled myth upon myth. As the historian Daniel Batassi shows in Whom We Shall Welcome, they rewrote history by casting Columbus as the first immigrant, even though he never set foot in North America and never immigrated anywhere except possibly to Spain, and even though the United States did not exist as a nation during his 15th century voyage. The mythologizing carried out over many decades granted Italian Americans a formative role in the nation building narrative. It also tied Italian Americans closely to the paternalistic assertion still heard today that Columbus discovered a continent that was already inhabited by Native Americans. Okay? So this is how the shit started. But in the late 19th century, the full-blown Columbus myth was yet to come. The New Orleans lynching solidified a defamatory view of Italians generally and Sicilians in particular as irredeemable criminals who represented a danger to the nation. The influence of anti-immigrant racist Representative Henry Cabot Lodge of Massachusetts, soon to join the United States Senate, quickly appropriated the event. He argued that a lack of confidence in juries, not mob violence, had been the real problem in New Orleans. Lawlessness and lynchings are evil things, he wrote, but a popular belief that juries cannot be trusted is even worse. Facts aside, Lodge argued, beliefs about immigrants were in themselves sufficient to warrant higher barriers to immigration. Congress ratified that notion during the 1920s, curtailing Italian immigration on racial grounds, even though Italians were legally white with all of the rights whiteness entailed. The Italian Americans who labored in the campaign that overturned racist immigration restrictions in 1965 used the romantic fictions built up around Columbus to political advantage. This shows yet again how racial categories that people mistakenly view as matters of biology grow out of highly politicized myth making. Come on, bro. Take the bomb. If this was Know the Ledge Radio, we would do the bomb, my nigga. Boom! Like, I'm gonna let that, maybe you have to go read the article on your own. I did give you the title of it. You could Google. It's by New York Times, right? A refutable, and it's called How Italians Became White. So go down that rabbit hole. But the mafia, specifically, who are Sicilian, right? Watching the interview with Sammy the Bull, watching the Godfather of Harlem with Bumpy Johnson. The Italians play an intricate role. To understand who they are, it should take, it should be explored. It should definitely be explored. They need to find out who they are because some of them may be either in willful, in plausible deniability, or they may be, they might not know. Who knows? You know. But once again, somebody said, who is American? Yeah. So they show you the power of the pen yet again. That they could take a whole group of people and write them into their quote unquote culture. They could take a whole group of people and through the movies and Hollywood romanticize their culture. They could take a group of people and through the pen in City Hall and other places make things happen for their culture, and they actually brought them into their culture and officially made these people part of white culture. They were not part of that in no ways, right? As soon as they become part of white culture, their fingerprints are all over things that are being negatively impacted in our neighborhoods, our melanated neighborhoods that were at certain times prosperous. But the flood and the onslaught of drugs that were being brought in, who was bringing them in? The mafia was bringing them in. Who was the mafia working with? The mafia is working with other people in high places. You know what I'm talking about? So they went from being our allies to actually being people who, have been used against us like Roman soldiers, like, mercenaries. You dig? But this thing of ours is this thing of ours. We the ones who started that. You understand? That's our blood in their veins. So it's just, it's the propaganda. So people's the way that they gravitate towards Italians and the mobsters, and everybody is a Lucky something and a Lucci other thing, it's fully understandable. Fully understandable. If they were more, if there was more of a I would say an honor system because of who, you know, the black Americans represent, you know, who the black Moors represent, I'm talking about how we move and what we do, you know. It wasn't like we picked up something from them. We didn't get our style from them. They were mimicking us. They were feeding off of our energy. They were feeding off our source. They were dripping off of our source. You know what I'm talking about? You know, that's all influence. The influencers of those days were they were very influential, right? The jazz musicians, they were very influential. The gangsters of our days, back in those days, when if there was a Scarface or a Al Capone nigga, he had a Negro counterpart. and somebody who was probably on a higher level than him at that time. Just remember that part. You know what I mean? Nigga, the underworld is all black. So don't be fooled, you know. Don't be fooled. You go to the islands, you tap into the underworld everywhere. You go to Colombia, you know what I mean? You go to Mexico, the underworld is still black. You dig? It's triple black. And yeah, they 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 they, they benefited off of the creation of the machine called Hollywood. You know, they benefited off of that creation through the whatever relationship was forged through the Protestants, through the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, through those blue bloods and whatnot, where they elevated the Italian and, you know, cleaned up their image and, you know, at the same time used them as a buffer, like they use a lot of other people as buffers. They've mastered that, you know, brought them into their society. They brought the Irish into their society, and they gave their sons to them to be police and other things, you know, loyal to the empire. You dig? And the Italians took over in criminality, and the Italians basically, you know, the mobs, the mafias, the ones who were allowed to operate while J. Edgar Hoover turned his cheek, literally, and then began to assassinate and follow and interrupt, right, and infiltrate some of the greatest organizations that were forming, that were on their way to, you know, waking up millions of our people at the right time, right? They sabotaged that, bro. The people sabotaged that, you know, and it's all kind of culprits. Like Sammy the Bull talks about in an interview when they did the hit on Paulie and whatnot, Paulie Castellano. It was 11 of them. He was the one who planned the murders and whatnot because he's the mastermind. You understand? He understood his part. Everybody who was playing their part had to play their part. Everybody understood their part. Everybody understood that in order for this thing to be effective, that there was a part that each piece had to play. And he was even ready to take out two Popo. This was just his interview. I'm repeating it. You know, I'm not advocating whatever. I'm just repeating what I heard this man say. But I'm letting you know that what I got from it, because I'm not gonna apologize. I'm a Scorpio, so we're drawn to shit like that. Like, oh, word, son is talking. Like, we're into the psychology of individuals such as a Sammy the Bull, you know, shit like that. You know what I mean? That's the depths that we go into because we are, you know, we're the investigators. You know, we have to pierce into the subconscious. We have to ask the questions that is going to compel you to dig deep and come up with some real, you know, we want to see behind the curtain, right? Yeah, all the Scorpios know what I'm talking about. Like, you know what I'm talking about. We're magnetized to the shit, that underworld mob shit, that mafia shit, you know what I mean? That cartel shit, all of that serial killer shit. Like the psychology aspect of the whole thing. He was this is Sammy the Bull story. He was dyslexic, right? He got left back twice. So he was the big brawny kid in the class. They used to make fun of him, right? And then he said he didn't get the help that he needed when he was young. So he has that anger, he got that neglect. You know what I mean? They basically shuttled him around and whatnot. And he didn't get what he needed. So he knocked out a few of his teachers, shit like a principal or something. And by that part, they kicked him out of 600 school. So he was destined to become what he did. He went to the army, became a trained killer, came back, started killing for the mob, ran to the, killed so much and was so meticulous with his killings. And his whole thing was he set up a lot. He wouldn't admit that he pulled the trigger on 19 killings, but he said it didn't matter because as long as he was the one putting it together and it got done, then it doesn't matter who pulled the trigger, rather who put the plan together, because it's all part of, it's all part of the formula. You understand? And he's explaining the power of a team. And he's explaining the power of a family. And he's explaining the power of a set. And then he's explaining the power of a crew. And he's explaining the power of a nucleus. And he's explaining the power of a cell. I mean, there's so many different ways to paint it. But these are how things are accomplished, whether good or bad, whatever you want to define it as in your moralistic minds, right? But he was just going in, you know. He was explaining, the fact that he didn't know that he was going to even make it to a certain age because signing up for that life, they brought him in, this thing of ours, they called him in, they told him that they was, checking him out. They want him to be a friend of theirs, meaning that I want you to be in the family. He becomes a made man. He starts doing things from beating people up, getting money, to hitting licks. And I guess it turns into bodies, you know. So, you know, it's a Joker story. It's one of those American horror stories. The system let me down, the people let me down, society failed me. I had no choice but to become a mobster. Now I'm in a secret society of assassins and killers. We live by a code. We're very strict and family orientated. You know what I mean? But we're mercenaries. We're the Saracens. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're the assassins. That's who they were in Italy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, they're playing their parts. This is who they were trained to be. You know, they got trained by some of the best. They love their mamas. Where you think they got that from? That code that code that they live by. When you dig deep enough, you'll see where that code originates from. You know, that's why so many people who look like us are drawn to that mafioso shit. They understand that pledge that they take. They understand that loyalty. They understand the code that certain people live by. That shit was it was like, you know, it was familiar. It's familiar. It's all Moorish though. It's all Moorish. You know what I'm saying? Understand just understand what that means. It's all Moorish. You know. So yeah, Maurice. So many different names. So many words that are Arabic. You know what I mean? In these languages, even in quote unquote Spanish. Even in Spanish, you gotta ask your Spanish friends, hey, why is that there? But some people never know that. Some people never heard of Black Wall Street, and the power of the movies. Once again, like we were saying with the Tyler Perry episode, and I've been saying on many occasions when I let the family know that the power of film, moving pictures, uh, even video is not necessarily, I don't feel that it's being captured. The power of it it's not necessarily, I don't think that our community at large is on one accord or have an inkling or an understanding of what we have. Like I don't know if it even is occurring to people. That's a fact, you know. But it's a lot of power. Like I'm telling you, I'm seeing it. I'm going around the world. I'm in places that the energy is at such a high frequency that anything is possible. If somebody just said, "Yo, I got $1 billion. We good. Let's just go and build this island right now." We like, all right, let's go, and that should have get built. You know what I mean? Somebody was like, "Yo, after this whole conference right here, I bought me a whole building. I got a hundred unit. You know what I mean? Everybody, whoever want to move in, first 3 months is on free. Let's just come and make that a creative hub. Let's make that a maker space. You know, let's make that a workshop. Let's make that an after school center. You dig what I'm saying? Let's make that a 3D laser cut, a 3D printer laser cut lab. Let's even build a wet lab so people could do DNA testing and genome sequencing and stuff. There's so many things. Let's mimic what Tyler Perry is doing and at least have one, um, you know, one of those studios. Buy the things that be on the ships, right? The containers and whatnot, and then paint them green. Come on, man. Like, you know what I'm talking about? This is not difficult. The layup is in our hands. They just got all our hands tied. You know what I mean? They got all of our hands tied. Gentrification is a stick up. You know, it's an algorithm. It's a code. It's something that they're factoring in, and they have results through quantum computers that the probabilities of what it is that they're doing and the effectiveness of it to tie niggas down in a certain amount of time while they implement certain other kind of things to further cripple said Negroes amongst a whole bunch of other things. You know what I'm saying? Amongst a whole bunch of other things. But the reason why everywhere that I go, I'm seeing these same exact things taking place. They're gentrifying everywhere where the melanin is heavily concentrated, where there's any kind of light whatsoever, where people are living and they're trying to stack a few dollars and make some things happen. And they're also pulling up in places that are certified pet cemeteries and fields of death. You know, and they're bringing a truce to the area with a bagel shop and shit like that. You know what I mean? They're getting ceasefires and shit by walking their dogs through niggas' wars and whatnot. So, you know, and from what I've been hearing on the great on out there in the grapevines, you know, they're aiding in they're feeding a lot of drug dealers, their habits. They have expensive habits, right? And there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of them being in these neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to kick in. Shit's starting to come back. Starting to pay itself back, starting to pay itself forward. So people is, they here for the shits. But my $1 million question is, where's everybody going to live? Where, where's the people even, like, where's the celebrities? Where's the real estate development teams? Where's the investment firm? Like, where's the athletes, the collective of athletes just saying, yo, construction is underway for a subdivision, my nigga. Construction is underway for a small town. Construction is underway for, a cul-de-sac. Something. Nothing? You know what I'm saying? Mine like Kanye, he's the one doing some of the right things because if you look at the size of the land that he has, he's in a big empty space. Like, he probably have a warehouse and they gutted it out. And then there's all kind of production. All his production is in-house. Manufacturing is in-house. That's what I'm saying. Once you control production, you are now the producer of so many things. I put that out. He became a production. He became in control of his production because he had the machinery and all of his stuff there. He was able to have his own distribution. He was able to have his designers coming together and execute designs and execute ideas right on the spot. And you saw him become, his business has now achieved billionaire status in sales, I believe, and is doing what it does. All I'm saying is the power, a lot of power. There's a lot of power in owning your manufacturing, being able to have a workspace where you maybe just live in with other creatives and with other people who are on the same frequency. That is a must. You cannot mix frequencies. You have to have people on a frequency that is vibrating. They will complement, because you may go with the opposite frequency to complement. That's on you. But I would suggest starting out with people that are seeing on your eye, on your level. This is a vision. So don't surround yourself with people who are not complementing the vision. They're not doing everything in their power to manifest said vision. If they're going against the vision, they could be the friction that one needs in order to get that spark. But you know, you don't need it to be everybody. You know what I'm talking about? You nigga need support. A quarterback has all of these. He got a whole bunch of players around him, and they're all trying to win. They have a concerted effort to achieve a similar goal, right? Similar to me and my shifter brothers. We are all playing different positions on the field, but we play the game because we're here to win. And it's not about ego, it's about we go. So where I go, we go. We don't do it with ego. We do it for a way bigger cause. We do it for we do it for such a different reason. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. So, you know, what could you say? The power is in doing. Starts there. Starts there. You know, power is in doing. You know, many of us just have to do. Take the examples that you're seeing from people who are telling you that you just have to be and you have to do. And I don't know what else to tell you. I can't tell you anything but to be and to do and to exercise your will at all times to, you know, bring about the reality and to bring about the experience that you wish to have. That's going to be something that's going to teach you a lesson and help you know yourself better and your environment, and also something that's going to feed your brain, because your brain needs to be fed. You have to be stimulated. You have to have a charge. You have to have you have to be magnetized by something. There has to be something pulling you. You know what I'm talking about? What about when you living around, when you single and you don't have nothing pulling you, my nigga? You know what condition you be in when nobody's checking for the kid? You know what I'm talking about? When you don't got nobody on your line, you don't have no action, no friction, you're not magnetizing anything, you know? You all in a cave, hibernating, long fingernails and whatnot. And then you get a spark. And then somebody's checking for you. And she pulls out a version of you. It's like a new suit, my nigga. She pulls a version of you out that you didn't even know existed. So you start getting back up. You know what I mean? You start juicing again. You know what I mean? You start worrying about, your health and whatnot. You get rid of the fucking beer gut. You know what I mean? You go to the gym. You get on your Gucci Man shit. You're just jogging every morning. You go from fucking crazy lunatic retard, you know, uh, guwap, burr. You go from that state to motherfucking Waptober. You level up because she pulls that shit out of you. She makes you level up. She makes you get your shit together. You know what I mean? She's the magnetism. She's the pull. She's pulling a version out of you that's inside of you, that's innate. You know what I mean? You want 100%. She met you. You was at 35. You know what I mean? She's getting your stocks up. You know, usually that's some good cooch. That's some good loving. You know what I mean? That's some good McMuffins. You know what I mean? Shit like that. It's nurturing to the soul, and then certain things blossom in us when we're loved a certain kind of way, and we become better people, and we become newer versions of ourselves. It's the proverbial offset putting a saw back together, right? The glue that does that is sticky icky love. It's when the love is sticky. You know what I mean by sticky? That you know, when they say that the videos are sticky or pictures are sticky, you can't take your eyes off of it. I got sticky girls on Instagram. I'm scrolling by, minding my business, on my way to get some almond milk, right, from one of these conscious online stores, and then here she comes, Miss Instagram hottie, and I'm stuck because it's sticky. Thirst trap, the trap, you know what I mean? you know, she got the bear in his trap. You know what I'm saying? The niggas got they got the lion in the trap. Simba's trapped. You know what I'm saying? He's a man down. You know, and they out here trapping, and niggas is riding a boat. That's a fact. So I've danced to trap music a few times. you know, and stickiness. So that love is like a magnet. I'm not just talking about that per se. I'm just saying regular love, whatever, attraction, somebody wanting you, somebody checking for you, right? Pheromones, all in your nose and all in your nostrils. She's letting off that scent. You know what I'm talking about? You're smelling that, you're like, do you smell what the rock is cooking? She's giving off that pheromone that she's ready to go to the bone room or something like that. And you're like, what's going on? So these things happen. I seen Mon go to the gym and get their Schwarzenegger on just because they was being checked by an Instagram hottie. You know what I'm saying? She might have liked more than 10 pictures. Oh, it was on from there. Women can make niggas get their shit together. I'm just saying that. Y'all have that power. You have a resurrection power. You all are all set. when my soldier is dead and he gets in front of all set, nigga, resurrection time. You know what I mean? Niggas is standing at attention. Attention, right? Is that not magic? Is that not resurrection? Who else could do that? Huh? Who else could do that? She'll have me seeing soldiers that I didn't even know I had. I'm like, damn, I got a whole army. That's resurrection. That's the power of all set. The throne. You feel me? Sitting on the throne. You know, that's the majestic way of saying locking in. Because if you're sitting on a woman's throne as a man, which way are you sitting? I'm just wondering. Shouldn't she sit on your throne? But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Our set has the power to put the man back together, because you cannot break or set because she gives birth. So you can never break a mother because she gives birth. A woman is unbreakable. She's the mother. You know what I'm saying? You can't break a mother. But you could break a saw into 14 pieces. That's a fact. And chop his phallus off. And it's floating somewhere. But you can't break the you cannot break the throne. The throne gives birth, so that automatically cancels a woman from being broken. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible. She could give birth to a nation. So you can't break her. You could damage her, but she's unbreakable. You know, she has a cheat code. You know, that's the truth. It's not. They wrote it out when we was, doing us back then. But it's been written. The myth is called the Asaurian myth, and that's what it's pointing to. Showing you who she is. It's showing you who you are, and it's showing you who your son is, or your child, the Heru. The better version of you, right? The falcon, the one with the sight, the revenger of the father's death. You know what I'm saying? The father has enemies. The father has 77 co-conspirators. The father has jealous, brothers, jealous uncles, jealous friends, you name it, jealous lovers. There's always a Brutus somewhere. So this parable, these stories, there's always a set in your set. You know what I'm saying? There's always a set in your set. Remember that. And there's always a Heru in the sky. There's always a Heru in disguise. Right? So you always have a Heru amongst you, and you always have the quality of a set amongst you. These are spirits. These are energies. These are egregores. These are thought forms, or rather, these are rather like when you get mounted by spirits or entities. These are like succubus and incubus. They get on you. They get on you, and they ride certain people. So, these books right here, the Quantum Gods, right? Man, stuff I'm reading right now. The Chaos Protocols. This book is deep. I got this from Shabazz. Magic, power, money, and the meaning in the world on the brink. Right? You see that vest that I came up with? Gordon White. It says magical techniques for navigating the new economic reality. Becoming like God, Kabbalah, and our ultimate fate. This book got mad gems. Yeah. And of course, this book, My Journey with Dr. Sebi, right? This is a must get. Go to Mr. G. Go to drsabibook504.com. Dr. Sebi Book 504.com. This is by one of the producers of the documentary for Dr. Sebi, Mr. G. And I am in this book. This is my chapter. The Story of Phil. Right? That's on what page is that? 108. This is an interesting story that you'll learn about me that you never knew. And then I have a section that I wrote in there. Red Pill Speaks. I have a chapter that I wrote in there. It's legendary, and I'll read it another day. I'm not gonna read it right now. I need y'all to go and get this book. I'm doing a book reading, but I'm not gonna do it on the show tonight. I'm actually gonna do a book reading where I'm gonna read my chapter. But this is it right here. Mr. G was with Dr. Sabi. He's Dr. Sabi approved. Dr. Sabi gave this man, he put it on film. He gave him the rights to document his life. And he has hundreds of hours of footage of Doc that nobody's never seen. And his whole story, the whole story is majestic. It's mystical. I'm just saying, just his Mr. G story specifically, how we met, how this whole thing came to pass, how him and Sabi met. Like, you cannot tell me that this is not being directed, and the ancestors in the universe doesn't have a sense of humor. This is theater. Like, someone is directing this play. They're putting certain people together and linking them up for certain purposes. And certain people are living out their purpose, and you get to see it in real time. And when you see it in real time, it's kind of breathtaking because you know that you're seeing actual history in front of you. You know that you're seeing real shit, not REEL, not Hollywood, not the illusions. Not to say that those are bad, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the two. It don't know the difference between fake and real. It doesn't have no idea to disseminate the difference. Not your subconscious. So you are putting out all of this stuff on World Star. You're putting out all of this stuff. All of this filth that goes out that our fingerprints are attached to. The universe sees that. It has to respond to that. It's getting that subconsciousness. The babies, when they're seeing that, everybody's subconscious, they're in theta mode until they're 7. So you're watching everything, you're seeing everything, you're feeding your daily fix, because I do it too. You know what I mean? You're feeding your fix, right? And you're consuming all of this data and whatnot, all of this information. But this shit is low level, low frequency, very negative ELF type of shit. It might even have the bird flu attached to it. Some of these videos, and you know, in the background, it's the young sponge like theta waved brain that's still forming its neurons and things of that nature, that's soaking up everything like a sponge. And they're not getting the pills. They're not getting Father Rich. They're not hearing Cambada. You dig? They're not listening to KT with the words and the lessons and whatnot. They're not tapping into 19 keys. They don't hear Derek Grace. Like, they don't understand. They don't hear RZA. They don't hear Ben. They don't hear Pop Darby and stuff. Like, there's so many people that they could be listening to, but Meg is there, Nikki is there, Cash Doll is there, Dream Doll is there, Cuban Doll is there. You know what I'm saying? Barbie Doll is there. You know what I mean? Barty, Barty A. Barty is there. You know what I mean? There's all of these. JT is home. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, JT is there. You know, all of that. So these children have a lot to compete with right now. This thing is like Rocky 2. Like, this is a big, it's two big realities, or two big versions of the truth vying for people's hearts and minds. It's the truth and it's the illusion. You know? It's a new reality versus an old reality. Right? And that's where we see ourselves, where it's like, damn, I don't want to do this shit no more. I don't want to sell crack no more. I don't want to go to jail no more. I don't want to sell box no more. I don't want to rob houses no more. I don't want to do all of these things. I don't want to make excuses no more. And then there's the other side. Yo, I'm glad I stopped making excuses. Yo, I'm glad I stopped being a victim, blaming everybody else. Yo, I'm glad I stopped being angry and mad and pessimistic and all victimized and everything. Yo, I'm mad I stopped waiting for people to do shit for me and I started doing for me. Yo, I'm mad I I stopped, waiting for somebody to hire me, and I hired myself. So now I could fire myself, and then I could retire myself. So I become a CEO. I become an owner. I become, a leader, and I become an employer, and I become an asset to not only my people, but to my young progeny, my seeds, my future. I'm able to leave them something solid and not no shit in the air, not nothing in the clouds. Niggas is leaving these children a lot of shit in the clouds, but you know what I mean? Them clouds gotta rain sometimes. You gotta make it rain some manna, and then you gotta build something for them. Yo, anybody with an event space, email me at the mark125th at gmail.com. Anybody who is selling an event space and anybody who has an event space, any event space anywhere on the earth, because mine is global. Hold on. Mine like red pill. I'm talking about mine like a red pill. You know, things are going. It don't matter where you at. Anyone with a substantial, I'm saying if it passed inspection, event space, let's just clear that up. If it's passed inspection, and if it's not passed inspection and you're still looking to sell it, I need you to hit me up, and I'm serious about that. You dig? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, y'all gonna say it in the comments, but my email is the mart125th, and that's th at the end at gmail. The spelled no ebonics, THEMART 125th at gmail. Contact me in private. We can't do this in a chat room and whatnot. Contact me. Let's handle our private affairs in a private venue, because it's impossible to handle public affairs, private affairs in the public. Those two things don't go together. It's like two sides of a magnet. They'll never touch each other. So you can never do, if you think you're doing private matters in public, you are fooled. That's why there's secret societies. That's why there's La Omareta. That's why there's all of these mafias and these gangs. It's not one mafia. It's a Mexican one. There's a Haitian one. There's a black mafia. You know what I'm saying? There's an Italian. There's a Romanian. There's a Russian. There's a East Indian. There's a Japanese one. You dig? It goes on and on. They're not gangs though. They're organized criminals. They're more racketeer than they are thugs. They're more racketeers than they are thugs. You have these whatchamacallit, scammer gangs, you know, complete more racketeers. They're doing banks. They're cleaning banks out for big numbers. They're on the dark web, jugging, you know. These people come from Africa and all over Europe and all over America. These are organized, these are organized units. These are organized units, with expendable income, and with access to resources that have no limit to them. They are like the Neo scene in the Matrix when he was in that all-white room and he just swiped and everything came. Brrr. Those are your swipers. That's the scammers. They could get anything. You see how all the guns pulled up with Morpheus? That nigga had work, man. He was on the dark web with them Nigerians. You know what I'm talking about? He was punching in some numbers and shit was just pulling up in a virtual Amazon. That's what that was. A virtual Amazon where you just swiping all of these big numbers, these crypto, you know. You on your what's my young boy name? TJX. You on your dark web shit. Scammer rap is on the rise. I said it first. By 2020, scammer rap is gonna be huge. Watching, see how, you know. And the creatives amongst us, it's our duty to take something such as that and flip it into our favor. Unfortunately, I can't say everything on YouTube, but we'll have these conversations in the future, the very near future, you know. But there's so many stories waiting to be told, yo. It's impossible. I would a lot. I'm not speculating. I'm not assuming because I don't want to make an ass out of you and me. I know. I feel like I know that throughout all of these years, there's been mad people writing scripts and banging stories. I'm talking about high level, like Sophia Stewart, the inspiration of Sophia Stewart always being on the internet for like the last 6 years. Because she's been in the woke network. She's been in the conscious community. She was with us. We were interviewing her. In 2010, I believe, we had interviewed Sophia Stewart. Prior to that, there were other people talking about Sophia Stewart, but she started going viral around after 2012. So she's been going super viral. People have been looking into her. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm willing and I'm affirming that multiple people have been encouraged by the level of artistry and creativity that was espoused in her classic works, The Terminator and The Matrix, and they began to develop their own alternative realities and universes, and that is going to formulate by once again dealing with the law of probability, right? Going into this quantum reality where the ancestors are the quantum realm and you're basically tapping in. They're making these things manifest in this realm. But the fact that Tyler Perry Studios exists, it expands the probability of the scripts that you have written and you have basically sat down and created in these alternative universe that you have in your mind, in your head, that if you develop these will unlock the code. These will break curses. These will break generational curses. It would be like when I saw Star Wars. When I saw Star Wars, my brain was rewired in the movie theaters, and when I came out of there, I was thinking differently. I remember that. That's a fact. Every movie that rewired my brain. Gizmo and them. What's that movie with Gizmo and Stripe? Nigga, that rewired my whole brains. My whole reality was different when I came out of there, fam. Gremlins. It's my shit, bro. Nigga, that's my shit. Y'all might seen it on the streaming on the DVD, but I seen it in the movies and it was different because we did not know that we was about to see that. When we saw that in the movies, niggas was not prepared. They didn't have a campaign where they was like, yo, we're gonna show some shit where niggas is popping out of Gizmo's back because he's eating chicken at midnight. You know what I'm saying? That movie was lit, bro. You know? That movie was lit. Them little gremlin niggas, they was like niggas around my way, bro. That was the posses we had beef with. They was striping them. You seen how the stripe, man. I know some of y'all live in small towns where New York niggas came and tied it down, and it was that scene from Gremlins. They was in that little small town, niggas drinking 40s and multiplying. Niggas drinking 40s after 12, and more niggas is popping out it. We don't die, we multiply. And baby kids is just exponentially multiplying to the square root of 12. You know what I'm saying? I related to that. I related to Gremlins, yo. You know, I related to that. Yeah, they was fucking with Gizmo. Then everybody had a soft spot for Gizmo. Gizmo ain't trying to hurt nobody. Why you trying to kill Gizmo? Why you got bread on Gizmo's head? You know what I'm saying? So then that turned the public against people who didn't like Gizmo. You don't like Gizmo? Then you become the bad guy. Right? So you know who Gizmo would be in today's society. Well, don't you, right? Okay, I don't have to go any further. Gizmo would be living at Tyler Perry's studio in a penthouse. You dig? If he was a human being. He's all soft and moist. You know what I'm saying? He's all cute, with those puppy eyes. Oh, Gizmo, you know, striping these niggas got toxic masculinity problems. You know what I'm talking about? They're so aggressive. They out there daggering in the pool and whatnot. Striping them was rambunctious, the Killmonger type. You feel me? They were uncontrollable, uncouth. You know, couldn't even watch a movie with these niggas. You know, striping them was from the trenches. And that's a fact. Striping them niggas is from the trenches. Striping them niggas was eating government cheese and whatnot. Striping them niggas is from public housing. The way they act. Not Gizmo though. Shit. Gizmo is from a place where everybody knows your name. It's just programming. Why striping them niggas had to be off green, right? Why these niggas had to be darker than Gizmo? You know what I'm saying? Why Gizmo couldn't be, why he couldn't be black? How was a nigga giving birth to black niggas after midnight? Why they not white? They didn't have one white nigga that popped out. Not one. Nigga had a white stripe and that was it. Yeah, the ancient Chinaman. The Han Dynasty, right? That's what niggas would say, Mr. Miyagi, the Han Dynasty. Yo, that symbolically that was the Han Dynasty because that was the beginning of the Mongols. Walk with me through the Silk Road. Just walk with me, brother. I got you. London City, Wagwan, man. The Mondem, Top God, Red Pill. Top God, yes. But come and burn down Summer House, Top God. Yes, man, yes, in it. Man, in it. Man, like Red Pill, in it. Yo, we about to debut a song that we did with our good brother, Ras Rebel. He's a problem. He is a problem. We bodied the song. So we're going to premiere that UK exclusive. Not tonight, next week. Yes, bruv. Mine on the Joker ting, bruv. Yes. Yes, bruv. So yeah. Chinese came from black. I get it. I get it. I see that. I can see that. They got that ingenuity. You know, they work it. They're worker bees. They're producers. Shit like that. I don't know. But I know that the Jacksons are damn near white right now, right? I seen a family picture with the Jacksons. Half them niggas is almost white. Diana Ross, her family picture, some of them almost all white. I know that after centuries and centuries of people whitening themselves up, that nigga gene gets, washed out of the dungarees. You dig? It gets washed out of the denim jeans. You know what I'm talking about? Niggas is gentrifying their bloodlines. Niggas is gentrifying their whole bloodline. They washing that gene out. You dig? It's a whole bunch of families right now from NBA niggas all the way down where you like, this shit is going reverse Caucasian. It's going to reverse the fucking timeline of history shit. You know what I mean? We supposed to be going this way. The family picture, they going backwards. Everybody becoming whiter. You know what I'm saying? And you see how, it just shows you how over the years, many families in Europe whiten themselves up. They got that dark gene up out of there. Even the goddamn Sicilians that I'm talking about right here, even the Dominicans, you know what I'm talking about? Even the Mexicans, even the Argentinians, even the Ecuadorians, even the Puerto Ricans. They all whiten themselves up, bro. Niggas lighten themselves up. Even the Haitians. And then the people with this light with the bleaching cream in the islands and over there in Africa, they started lighting themselves up and coming out with the funeral parlor makeup. Niggas is off white. They don't even work for Virgil. You know what I'm talking about? They put the cake soap on and now they off white with no Virgil. I don't know. So that shit is a sickness. This whole, you know, what we would, it's almost it's a psychological trigger, right? It's colorism, the psychological trigger that was basically, it's a landmine that was laid out by certain colonists and the, you know, controllers or the masters of imagery, the masters of the universe, the masters of the media, you know what I mean? The manipulative ones, the ones who manipulate things in a favor of something that's scientifically in alignment with their myth and with their lie and with their falsehoods and, you know, and with their trickery. It's all about holding up one lie. And they've created about 6 million lies to keep that one going. And they work in collusion and cohesion. Like they don't even have to meet up. The code is already set. The shit is it works like it's an automatic Wi-Fi Bluetooth code. You know what I'm saying? Like nigga, they look in the mirror and the code is in the mirror. You don't have you're benefiting off of a status in a society that everybody who looks white or European knows that they came here on a boat. And they know when they came here, they were not, they had to struggle. They did not come to a place that they could just basically fit into. They had to fight, they had to kill, they had to maim, they had to pillage, they had to clear lands, they had to do all kind of things and shed blood in the name of their quote unquote Jesus or whatever God they brought with them, whatever American God they imported. They did rituals to those gods. And then they began to descend into crime. Those of them amongst them who were alphas, those of them amongst them who were well organized, those of them amongst them who were not just brutes, but people of, you know, men of honor and things of that nature. They took it serious and they organized their crime. By organizing their crime, they were able to create a code and they were able to create a power system and a hierarchy in those neighborhoods. And they were able to also create a tax system and they were able to also create a code that people had to live by. And they were able to create many other things by doing these things, along with creating terror, fear, murder, death, and all kind of other things that, you know, puts a community in danger. And many of these immigrant groups, from the Jews to the Italians to the Irish to the, you know, all the way up into today, to the Jamaicans when they came in, to the Dominicans when they came in, to the Haitians when they got on their Zopound shit. You know what I mean? Many of these people come in and they operate off of a formula that gets reintroduced to them throughout the ages. Most effectively was Nino Brown. Then after that, most effectively was Scarface. Then after that, then before that, most effectively was Goldie. And before that, what was most effective was other, you know, there was other movies. But this thing gets reiterated, this code, you know, of being on the outside of the law, uh, being economically sovereign from the system, being the anti-hero, you know, being an archangel, being an angel in a type, but definitely an archangel, an angel with an arch. You know, you're not good, but you're not bad. You know, you're out here avenging your father's death. You're already living in Sodom. You're living in a world where Set, where the evil uncle, where negative, where you know, where the negative forces of somebody who is a conqueror, the negative forces of somebody who is a dictator, who's taken over, who's cut off the head of the king. You know, they have society in a situation where there is no morals and there is no rules because you're here to avenge your father's death. You understand? You're here to get your shit back. You're here to return something that someone is sitting. You're here to get a throne that someone is sitting on and whatnot. And resources that they are controlling and holding on to because of the fact that they've taken something from your father. You know? So these people didn't follow. They created rules to follow. They operated outside of the quote unquote written rules, which are written and designed to create a certain type of mind state and a certain type of programming and a certain type of calculations, a certain type of way to take in information that's being disseminated to you, you know, in order to crunch the data. Now, if you have a different perception and you're seeing things completely different and you're following a whole new paradigm of rules that you and your team, you and your family, you and your gang, you and your set, you and your brotherhood, you and your lodge, you know, that y'all put forth oaths and whatnot, and you make either blood oaths or you make sure that everyone knows that you mean what you say and say what you mean when you give your word. Okay? As being one of those brothers or sisters. You know, this is not gender specific. And y'all living for each other because there's nothing more dangerous in this reality than a group of men or women who are on, you know, who are asserting their will to, you know, make things happen for the good of their families, and they're working together. It's an unstoppable force. So a lot of these men were tied into family foundations, you know, taking care of the family by any means necessary, not practicing, you know, the U.S. the American code of morality or the Christian version of their morality meant, and thou shalt not kill and whatnot. These people were willing to push it to the limits. You know, there's Africans out there pushing it to the limits. There's African Americans pushing it to the limits. There's Jamaicans pushing it to the limits. It's all kind of stuff. And one of the things that they say that if you flirt with death and she kisses you, but you don't die, there's a reward in that. So there's people out there that are living on the edge, and they seem to be the ones who always got the most money, always got the most cars, always got things going for them, you know. And it's a power in certain things, you know. But yeah. But I would really love to hear some information from some of our historians about this Italian story, you know, more stuff about them becoming white in the earlier and what they were doing in the earlier days in America. What was their contribution, you know, and what was Black America's contribution to them, you know. Yeah, so I gotta, you know, I gotta get on this studying. I gotta get back to this. I gotta get back to this lecture. You know, November 3rd is gonna be crazy. So I'm in the lab right now. Like I'm digging in. So I gotta get back to that. But y'all make sure y'all thumbs up the video. Y'all make sure y'all share it where it needs to be shared. This ain't for everybody. You know what I mean? You share it with who it needs to be shared with. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you leave a tip on the PayPal, on the Cash App, money sign philmoreland, philmoreland. And we need more land. Anybody who has acres who want to get set up in this whole hemp thing that we doing, hit us at the mark125th at gmail. If you have 20 or more acres, if you have 4 acres, if you have 2 acres, hit us up. The mark125th at gmails. If you have an event hall anywhere in the world, hit us up. The mark125th at gmail. You know what I'm saying? If you have questions, inquiries, or concerns, hit us up. The mark125th at gmail. Um, yeah, if you want to make donations, gifts, whatever you want to do, Scorpio season is coming in. Yeah, that 44 is coming in. If you want to find yourself in Shasta, celebrating our 44th with us, we're going to be doing a ton of stuff November 14th to the 18th. That's ShastaMeditation.com. Shasta Mountains, California, bordering Oregon. We're going to be in Hobo County, where that good is grown. And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. So ShastaMeditation.com. See, room is limited. You know what I mean? Room is limited. So if you want to make that trip, then you need to go hit that up. Okay. November 3rd, you already know what it is. Brooklyn, St. Francis College, where classic lectures have gone down by some of the greats. I said the Duke of Tears, A.A. Rashid, Dr. Phil Valentine, and many others. And we're going to add on to that Billy Carson, Sri Gano Master, Sri Master Gano Grills, Blue Pillar, Red Pillar. All right. And we're going to have our brother Cambada performing that Holy Ghost Part 2. And we're going to be doing Last Breath. So, with that being said, you know, I'm up and out here. Oh, yeah, and we got American Gods Part 2 available for video on demand. Hit up the Cash App, $20, and you will have yourself a 4-hour lecture, American Gods Part 2. And we get in, you know, we got a segment where we break down the Joker. We go deeper into that story, and we touching on a lot of good stuff. So that's definitely something for your collection. I got people that have watched all of the video on demand. I think there's about 8 lectures already. But KTLUniversity.com, that's coming. Go to facts2020.org. Anybody who wants to sign up to this initiative, food, art, clothing, technology, shelter. We need our own studios. We need our own workspaces. We need our own workshops. We need our own event spaces. There's so many things that 2020 is going to afford us that it's time to start getting together, joining forces, you know, um, bringing our collectives together because your network is your net worth, and making something happen that's never happened before, but something that's basically you know, it's so doable. Tapping into the quantum, making a movie about it, and then doing it. You know, making, you know, tapping in like that. Watchmen. Make sure you go and watch The Watchmen on HBO. If you don't watch TV, you don't own a TV. Red Pill. I threw my TV out because y'all told me to throw it out. First of all, we didn't tell you anything like that. Second of all, you could try to find it on the internet. Yeah, I know shit that I don't know. Yeah, I know how to get into a lot of things on the internet. So you could find it, I'm sure. And if not, you know, you'll see it when it needs to be seen by you. You dig? And it's not necessarily something that you have to see either, but to get meta context is what I'm talking. All right, so I'm gonna see y'all Thursday. Third Eye Thursday, we'll be back. You dig? I think there's gonna be a Tough Talk Tuesday with Blue Pillar. Shout out to Kim Bribson. All right, peace to the family, peace to the shifters, peace to Smoke and Grow Rich. The Mondem came out this weekend. Everybody in the DMV that came out this weekend. Love and light to all of y'all. Thank y'all for the support. It was a lot of love. Y'all was dripping in that Kings County. Shout out to the family with the voodoo. All right, the shirt is fire. Shout out to the brother them in the UK with the silks. We're gonna have that on our website very soon. kingscounty.bigcartel.com. We will have this in multiple colors. This drip right here. Alright? Get your ancestors some money, you dig? Go get your ancestors some money, man. Tap in. You dig? Tap in.